Good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's hump day, and I can't believe it's the first day of school for some people. That is insane. I'm just reading the chat as we're about to go live, and I totally forgot to share my screen. Damn it. Give me a second, guys. Sorry. Still setting up. Too far behind today. Too far behind. All right. Get back to it. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. Good to see you guys. I am your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask during the live stream or in the comments below after the fact. So yeah, it's the 16th of August and kids are already starting school on a Wednesday, first day of school. Is it me or is that weird? Like, that's weird as hell. It's Wednesday, right? I gotta double check it's not a Monday. What is happening? What is it? Who starts school in the middle of the week on the 16th of August? It's like halfway through the friggin' month. What? It used to be like the beginning of September. That's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard of. Anyways, hopefully everybody has a good day at school, but that blows my mind. My mind's blown. Chris Hanley, I can't even believe it. It's like, that's crazy. That's way too early to be starting school. Anyways, let's see who else is here. We have Overboard Tech, Dabatolo, what's up, buddies? A pirate. Let's see, Regilio, Overboard Tech. Already said that. Nick K, Leo Lustig, good to see you. Backwards Miner, Dan R, Automatic Beats, Crypto Frank, Paddywhack Miner, good evening, sir. I know you're across the pond. Mr. Boinker. And let's see, Tim, I am crypto. Good morning. Good morning. All right, without further ado, let's get into this. Let's see what we got looking like. Man, the market is looking like total shit today. As you can see, I'm glowing red. 29,098 for Bitcoin. We have Ethereum 1821. Man, everything is red. Literally everything. Litecoin has finally gotten down into the 78 or 70s rather. So it's $78 right now. Dogecoin 69 cents. I wish. 6 cents, 6.9. We have XRP at 59 cents. Man, everything is dropping. That's crazy. Crypto bubbles. Let's check. So on the week, the biggest earner on the week is Rune at 56.1%. Damn, that's pretty cool. Thorchain pumping pretty good. Everything else is just kind of whatever. What is this? SEI 46.2% up today. Interesting. Never heard of this. Anybody heard of this? SEI? Not a clue what that is, to be honest. But everything's down. There's literally nothing else up except for like very, very minimal. I mean, CASP is up a tiny bit on today versus, the other day, but it's 3 cents, almost 4 cents. Blame it on Michael Berry's short news. Yes, actually, you know what? That's a good point. That's a good point. There's a few videos that mention that, but I'm not going to get into those today because it's kind of like whatever. I mean, nobody can predict the future. He's either going to be right or he's going to be wrong. It's going to go one way or the other, but nobody can like predict it. You know what I mean? We have neutral for the Fear and Greed Index, 52. Let's see what we got for the top 10 coins by coin market cap real quick. We have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, XRP, USD Coin, Lido Staked Ether, Dogecoin, Cardano, and Solana. Litecoin is down in 14th, right above Shiba Inu now. They were flipping back and forth yesterday, so pretty interesting on that. All right, anyways, without further ado, we're going to get into this. This is Bloomberg Crypto. This is kind of like a crypto roundup, more or less, in the just what the state of everything's going on. They talk about ETFs, talk about PayPal, they talk about a whole bunch of stuff. So it's kind of interesting to listen to. It's about 22 minutes. I might kick up the speed a little bit to 1.25 if it's too fast or too slow, guys. Just let me know, and we will, we'll do that. But without further ado, let's dive into it.
Live from Bloomberg's world headquarters in New York City, I'm Matt Miller.
And from our studios in Washington, D.C., I'm Kaylee Lyons. Welcome to Bloomberg Crypto, a look at the people, transactions, and technology shaping the world of decentralized finance.
Coming up, the SEC delays on its decision to approve ARK's Bitcoin ETF application. More on the regulatory hurdles with Bit Digital CEO Sam Tabar.
And Circle builds a $1 billion cash cushion to buffer fresh competition from non-crypto firms entering the space as PayPal launches its stablecoin. We'll have more on that with Circle's Chief Strategy Officer, Dante Disparte.
Plus, bankrupt crypto lender Celsius wins permission to poll its customers on a plan to reboot as a new user-owned company. More on that coming up.
Yeah, what the...
All right, so all of that...
Hold on, what is up with that, the whole Celsius thing? now it's going to be a user-owned company, and they're coming back with what is happening? Is anybody going to use that? Let me know what you guys think about that in the chat.
Let's get a snapshot of the market. The best way to do that on your Bloomberg terminal, CRYP Go. That is your function. And what you will find is it is a relatively quiet day for the largest digital assets out there. Bitcoin right now down about 0.4%, still trading in and around that 29,000 level as we have been for some time. Ether's also down just a few tenths of 1%. One of the big underperformers on the day is Polygon. It's off by 2.7%. And then Bitcoin Cash, which of course is an offshoot of the original token, is one of those that is doing a little bit better, although I haven't found an explicit reason why. Bitcoin Cash up about 2.2% on the day, Matt.
All right. In terms of, I guess, crypto sentiment, we've seen a little bit of turnaround judging by the flows in and out of exchange-traded products. Here you see that we had decent months in June and July, but starting at the end of July and into August, the flows came out of exchange-traded products. Now we've seen a tiny little gain. It's only $5.5 million of inflows, but at least that's something, Kaylee, a little bit of a turnaround for ETPs.
Yep, just a little bit of the green on the far right of that chart. All right, let's go from ETPs to ETFs. The SEC, as Matt said, delaying its decision to approve the ARC21 shares Bitcoin ETF application in another drag to the highly anticipated product. For more, let's bring in Bloomberg's Vildana Heinrich. So, Vildana, how long is this delay? What happens from here?
Well, this decision was widely expected to be delayed. A lot of people thought that because the SEC has a lot of time, it has about 240 days from the initial application when it's initially filed to actually come to a decision where they can say they're going to delay, reject, or accept the application. And so the thought is that going forward, we have so many more issuers trying for a spot Bitcoin ETF. We have a lot more decisions coming up. We actually have a few coming up right at the start of September. So we're waiting to hear back on decisions that, again, a lot of people are likely expecting to be delayed, but we're waiting to hear on decisions for BlackRock, for Bitwise, for a number of issuers, and it's just something that a lot of people are anticipating, again, to be delayed as the ARC decision was.
Vildana, has the SEC ever given an explicit reason for its opposition to a Bitcoin ETF thus far?
Yeah, we've heard in the past that they've cited things like market manipulation, for instance, which is why the BlackRock application in June was such a huge deal, because what BlackRock did with its application is it said that it's going to have a surveillance sharing agreement with another crypto exchange. We think
Coinbase.
That maybe that's one of the things that the SEC is looking at and saying, okay, this satisfies one of the issues that we've had with, potentially approving a spot Bitcoin ETF product. We just don't know. The communications aren't exactly public. Issuers don't come out and talk about some of the communications they've had.
And of course, market manipulation and fraud are rife in a number of other underlying commodities. That doesn't stop the SEC from approving an ETF for gold or silver, for example.
Right. We've had gold ETFs for something like 20 years now, or, it's been a while. It is actually a comparison that a lot of people make where they say, look, we've had GLD for such a long time. It has something like $60 billion in assets. It's another space that we can make comparisons to. Why not let this product go as well? Also, we have spot Bitcoin ETFs in Canada and other places, and a lot of people are pointing to those jurisdictions and saying, look, it's been working totally fine. But again, it has not been approved. We have to wait and see what happens and what else the SEC actually says about maybe some of the issues that they might have.
Real quick, right here in the chat. So Yankee actually said, I hope we get a government-mandated split up of the big four. They have way too much control now. And it's funny because they actually talk about that a little bit right here, or coming up shortly, I believe. They say, like, all say crypto miners and people that invested into crypto and made this whole decentralized like economy or community or whatever they call it. They just, they make the point that they do all this work and then we just hand it over to a Bitcoin spot ETF, which didn't really make me think like that until, well, I didn't think like that until I heard it here. So it was just kind of interesting the way they put that. Like, you do all this work just to give them a layup and, hand it over to the stock exchange at some point. It's weird. It's weird, right? So I don't know. That's kind of why I put the title the way I did. So I want to see what you guys think about them talking about this in a little bit.
Well, of course, we've heard a lot from the SEC in regard to many different issues in crypto, not just on the spot ETF, but also whether certain tokens should be designated as securities on exchanges like Coinbase and Binance. 19 tokens in particular that they said were unregistered by those exchanges. And yet, Valdana, we have some really interesting reporting on the Bloomberg today about how those very same tokens have actually seen trading increase. What's up with that?
Yeah, this is really, really interesting because when I remember that the SEC had sued Coinbase back in June, Coinbase and Binance actually, back in June, I honestly to myself thought, oh my gosh, it seems like such a long time ago. So I think part of it is that people just have short memories and they're sort of a little bit forgetting about what has happened just literally mere weeks ago. But the other thing is, and this is actually really, really interesting, is that Bitcoin is just not volatile at all. As you mentioned, it's hovering around 29,000. It's been hovering around 29,000 for weeks now. If you look at volatility measures for Bitcoin in any which way, you can look at 5-day volatility, 30-day volatility, 60-day, 90-day. It's really, really low. The coin is just, opposite to what we typically tend to think of for Bitcoin. It's just not been volatile. And so potentially some investors are going to some of these other more volatile, more choppy coins and trading those instead.
So now, quick question. Now, I mean, she's not wrong. It hasn't been very volatile at all. Do you guys think that's like strategy from the whales? They're not going to be selling or anything along those lines to kind of show people that Bitcoin can be a commodity and it can be a little bit more stable than it has been in the past? Do you guys think that overall, just to try to get this ETF pushed? I'm wondering if that's like kind of why, because I mean, there's people that can move this entire market in like seconds. You know what I mean? Just got to communicate with a couple friends that have giant bags and they can push this thing up or down, no problem. So I'm wondering if they're just holding on because they don't want to stir up any stuff while this whole ETF decision and all that stuff's going on.
All right, Valdana Hajric, as always, thank you so much for your great reporting here at Bloomberg. Now, as market participants remain eager to see the SEC's decision on Bitcoin ETFs, miners are bittersweet about the entrance of major financial institutions into the space. That's according to Bit Digital CEO Sam Tabar. He writes this in a recent op-ed on CoinDesk. Quote, a spot Bitcoin ETF raises the uncomfortable prospect of outflows in capital from mining stocks to Wall Street financial products. There is irony in miners building the world's first decentralized monetary system only to turn it over to Wall Street for a last-minute assist. I'm pleased to say...
Isn't that an interesting quote? That's, well, not really a quote, but that's something he said, and it was kind of, I don't know, it's just interesting to me, the way that came out. The irony is miners building the world's first decentralized monetary system only to turn it over to Wall Street. And it, like, kind of opened my eyes a little bit to it, which is kind of crazy, but I don't know. It's weird.
That Sam joins us now. So, Sam, I guess two-pronged question for you. How confident are you that a spot Bitcoin ETF is actually going to be approved? And then B, what does it mean for you?
Well, we're basically well over 50% confident that eventually it will be approved. The SEC will get around to doing that. I think the SEC is delaying their decision to approve a spot market ETF for a singular fund. They will be looking at it from a batch perspective in order to avoid the perception that there is market manipulation. But look, the chances are definitely over 50%. But in our industry, it's tough to give regulators the benefit of the doubt. The regulators never liked crypto, so I can understand why they're dragging their feet. But, miners have played a key role. Go ahead.
Well, just to continue on that point, what does it mean for miners and Bit Digital specifically?
Well, there's a thesis that many capital participants will invest in an ETF rather than a Bitcoin miner to get exposure to Bitcoin. However, once that ETF is approved, Bitcoin will likely go up because that's the ultimate stamp of approval in terms of being a real asset that's recognized institutionally. So Bitcoin will likely go up, and that'll improve our profits as the price of Bitcoin goes up. So I'm hoping it'll be a net positive, but in the short term, it could be negative.
This guy's connection's terrible. That's not me, I promise.
The SEC, as Valdana was just telling us, has previously cited market manipulation as a concern. And lately, we've seen no volatility in the price. Are you concerned about market manipulation in the price of the underlying commodity?
No, I'm not concerned about market manipulation. It's been quite stable. In fact, I think I read a headline that Bitcoin was more stable than the overall stock market these days, which is which is a headline I never expected to read. So I don't think there is. Go ahead.
What do you think is the next milestone we need to see to get some movement? Because, you know, we have seen it stuck here at just about $30,000 for months now. What are investors waiting for to move, you know, either higher or lower?
Well, look, the summer is always investment doldrums. A lot of traders are not at their desk. They're enjoying their lives. And I think that come fall, after Labor Day weekend in September, there's going to be a lot of action in trading, just as there is every year. So I do think that it's a question of seasonality. I think that when traders come back in the fall and they're actively trading, there's going to be a lot of movement in Bitcoin as well as other assets. And the smart traders, the smart ones, are going to be positioning themselves before Labor Day weekend. That's my theory.
So if we could just return to Bit Digital's business overall, you obviously reported earnings earlier today, a little bit shy.
Real quick, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut her off, but do you guys think that too, the whole Labor Day weekend thing? Let me just scroll this back a bit, see what you just said.
A lot of movement in Bitcoin as well as other assets. And the smart traders, the smart ones, are going to be positioning themselves before Labor Day weekend. That's my theory.
Do you guys think that's true? Honestly, I think that happens every single year, right? Doesn't it? I mean, not every single year, but every single like cycle. It's usually this area in the, you know, this point of the year, I guess, September, August-ish. This is when crypto is kind of like, you know, whatever, slammed down, and then it starts coming back slowly. I don't know. We have a year before big slides down, then up, says Mr. Yankee. Interesting.
So if we could just return to Bit Digital's business overall, you obviously reported earnings earlier today, a little bit shy of expectations. How is the business fundamentally doing?
Well, look, our stock is up over 500% year to date. That shows that the market is beginning to give us credit for our business model and the way we execute on our strategic priorities. And we've announced new strategic priorities in terms of expanding our fleet. We're now expanding our fleet by the end of the year to 3.5 exahash. We're currently 99% carbon free. That's carbon free, not carbon neutral. We've added 35 megawatts to our fleet. We've announced the purchase of miners to fill that capacity of 35 megawatts. And as mentioned, we're now announcing the expansion of our fleet to 3.5 exahash, which is a formidable fleet. And another thing, our liquidity in our balance sheet is pristine. There's absolutely no debt. We have $65 million on our balance sheet, so we can weather any bear market. Unlike other participants or peers in our sector who have drank their Kool-Aid a little bit and took on a lot of leverage during bullish days, we did not do that. We ran a very counter-cyclical strategy, and that's paid off very handsomely.
Well, the stock is up 450% year to date, so clearly the market applauds those moves. In your terms of your expansion, you're really moving offshore as well. Is that a purposeful move to get out of the United States jurisdiction?
Well, we did not shrink our fleet in the United States. We've expanded our fleet, and we've chosen to have 3 jurisdictions: the United States, Canada, and Iceland. Iceland is a very unique situation for us because it is 100% carbon free. It draws power from geothermal and hydroelectric sources of power, and it's very important in our mission to become completely carbon free, and we're now at 99%. So Iceland was a very good opportunity for that. But it's also very prudent for any Bitcoin to diversify its jurisdictional risk. It's very dangerous existentially to put all your eggs in one basket and mine simply in one country. It's important to diversify that risk, and we're very careful on that. So that's why we have 3 jurisdictions in which we have our fleet completely operating.
Sam, thanks so much for joining us. Great to get your insight on this market. Sam Tabar there talking to us from Bit Digital, where he is, of course, the CEO. Coming up, Circle Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Global Policy, Dante Disparte, will join us.
And, of course, to access all of the latest data and news on crypto, check out CRYP Go on the terminal. This is Bloomberg.
Shout out to Bloomberg. They're still going, but they're just doing like this little weird commercial break thing. So anyways, yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? Mr. Joker Miner, good morning. Good morning. I think they'll open up all of the Bitcoin ETFs at the same time. I don't think they're going to like approve one and then, you know, check out the others. Oh boy, hold on. Jumping ahead of me. I sped it up too fast. Let me turn this back down. All right, let's do it.
We are interested in digital currencies because we do believe that they have the potential to transform the payment ecosystem. If you look at the primitives of the technology in terms of the cost of transactions, in terms of the settlement time, in terms of the programmability of the tokens, you just can do things that you couldn't do with traditional payment rails. And it's something that is strategic for us, and it's something that we want to be a part of.
That was Jose Fernandez de Ponte, PayPal Senior VP of Blockchain, speaking to us here on Bloomberg Crypto after the launch of its stablecoin last week. Joining us now for more on the stablecoin landscape is Dante Disparte. He is Circle's Chief Strategy Officer and Head of Global Policy. He is here with me in our Washington, D.C. studio. So, Dante, great to see you. Thank you very much for coming in. When we think about PayPal introducing a stablecoin, I understand in theory that could be just a vote of confidence for stablecoins overall, but also it's heightened competition, theoretically. Is this a net positive or a net negative for Circle?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would argue it's a net positive. I know the team at PayPal very well, and I know them obviously not only from our time in the payments world, but also from the Libra project, where PayPal was one of the many members of that project. And so the fact that PayPal has come back to an operating model as they looked at how to build a more interoperable payment systems, it's not surprising that they turned to digital assets and stablecoins particularly. But I would argue the one distinction, of course, is that there's sufficient regulatory clarity emerging in the United States to give a public company of PayPal's size and scale comfort that it's a time to move into this market.
Well, it's interesting you say that there is sufficient regulatory clarity, because if you listen to Maxine Waters, the ranking member of the House Financial Services Committee, she put out a statement last week. She was saying she was deeply concerned that PayPal did this while there is still no federal framework for regulation and oversight. On the other hand, the chair of that committee, Patrick McHenry, put out a statement praising this, saying that this supports what he, as the committee chair, is trying to do. They, of course, advanced out of that committee stablecoin legislation. What is your degree of confidence that actually crosses the finish line, given that Waters was not for that?
Well, look, that was kind of a good point. Why would PayPal come out and do this before they approved, or with all the uncertainty in the market? It's kind of interesting, right? But PayPal's a big player, man.
I think the United States, we tend to do the right thing after we've exhausted all other options. And we have had a principled conversation in our country about regulating digital assets and stablecoins particularly for nearly 5 years now. In the last Congress, when Maxine Waters was chairwoman, the architecture of today's version of the payment stablecoin bill is an architecture that she helped design in close consultation with the Treasury Department and all of the officials in the President's Working Group on Financial Markets. And so I think picking up where they left off in the 118th Congress, as Patrick McHenry has done, shows us that we have a pathway when Congress gets back in session to finally set a standard at the federal level that promotes competition like PayPal competing with a company like Circle, but also I think critically makes this an export product around the world. It should be unconscionable for the United States to have digital dollars regulated outside of the U.S. first, and that's the current trend that we see around the world.
I think it's a Winston Churchill quote, right? That you can always count on the United States to do the right thing after all other options are exhausted, which is a classic, obviously. What do you think about your competition with less regulated players like Tether? Does it make sense to you that that you would have competition from a less transparent company like that?
Yeah, look, I don't think the two product categories, a well-regulated payment stablecoin that, despite the fact that there haven't yet been federal rules for the sector, but nonetheless we have regulated USDC and Circle's business and operations across all of the U.S. states that require money transmission rules, I don't think the two products are comparable. And I think, candidly, you saw a flight from safety after the 3 bank failures we had in the United States has triggered this fleeing of the U.S. jurisdiction and the U.S. nexus to unsafe, opaque products by comparison. And so a lot of the growth that you have seen in Tether in no small measure is a byproduct of that technicality where failures in banks imported risk to the crypto segment, including to Circle and USDC. But I think that pendulum is swinging the other way. Just yesterday, Jeremy issued a tweet arguing that this sort of temporary flight from safety is going to correct itself. itself. But if nothing else, it argues for this need for federal legislation, a federal set of rules, because candidly, should anyone anywhere be able to counterfeit US dollars using cryptographic methods, or should there be a rule set around competing with digital dollars as a base currency on the internet, where the safety, soundness, and monetary policy of the United States and other financial integrity rules are respected?
What do you think, Dante, is the ultimate or the most important use case for stablecoins? We see, obviously, stablecoins used heavily inside sort of the crypto ecosystem, but will they be useful in commerce? Is the take rate there starting to pick up?
Well, there's no doubt. And in fact, you could argue, and this is one of the really key distinctions, I think, in the architecture of USDC and Circle's business model, is that we're technology neutral. We're not trying to pick winners and losers at the technological level. In the payments world, we talk about this concept of a walled garden, which is that payments are usable and low cost inside the walled garden. But if you want global, universally transmissible digital dollars, you have to build on an architecture that promotes interoperability. Today, USDC has USDC-enabled wallets in more than 191 countries. You see payment networks like MoneyGram enabling USDC cash-in and cash-out points all over the world. Of course, I would be remiss not to underscore the project with the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees on using USDC for disaster-displaced Ukrainian refugees. These are very powerful art of the possible case studies, but I think it's only still the beginning. PayPal didn't enter this market segment out of charity. They're entering the market segment not only to combat technological irrelevance of parts of their business model, but also to really demonstrate that the world and people demand everywhere digital dollars that work for them and that are always on.
Just one final note on USDC. The amount in circulation has come down pretty substantially this year. At the same time, you've seen tethers on the rise. What turns that around?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of things. During this down market, like any other responsible company and responsible steward, Circle has been investing pretty heavily in abstracting away the technological presence of blockchains, right? So one example of a product we've launched recently is known as our cross-chain transfer protocol, which is a technology that enables people to port digital assets, including USDC, from multiple chains. That allows the technology to be constantly upgradable and to effectively have a completely interoperable digital currency. We're also recently launched programmable wallets, which again, the net experience to the end user of digital assets is that it lives at the device level and at the device-centric level. So programmable wallets is another feature powered by Circle that enables companies, entrepreneurs, and developers everywhere to build on this ecosystem. And so a lot of those developments in this declining market environment have been the way we've invested our business. We've also expanded overseas. We just received a major payment institution license in Singapore. We're waiting for an equivalent license regime in France, where we will build a MiCA-compliant digital euro and onshore the USDC business model as well. And so Circle has been investing pretty heavily in this market, and we're counting on the United States, when Congress comes back in session, to deliver a regulatory framework, candidly, to match the opportunity that the free market has developed around digital currencies.
Dante, great having you on the program. Thanks so much for coming into our studio. Dante Disparte there from Circle. Coming up, Celsius gets the okay to poll its customers on a proposal to launch a user-run version of the company. This is Bloomberg.
How do you get the okay to do that? I don't understand it. That makes no sense to me, to be honest. Skip through a little bit. There we go. All right, there's only another minute or so, and then we're going to get into Altcoin Daily's video, where he goes over 10 different altcoins that we should be looking into.
I'm Caitlin Lyons in Washington with Matt Miller in New York. Now to some crypto stories that caught our attention this week, including bankrupt crypto lender Celsius winning court permission to start polling account holders on its proposal to restart as a user-owned company. Celsius has proposed starting under new management led by investment firm Arrington Capital and could ultimately end up distributing an estimated $2 billion of Bitcoin and Ether.
Hey,
Singapore finalized its guidelines on stable coins as the city-state tightens its regulatory grip in the digital asset sector. Issuers will have to meet requirements related to capital, disclosure, and redemption at par, among others. Singapore's guidelines follows Japan, that introduced a legal framework around stablecoins last year. Hong Kong is working on its own standards for the space as well.
And former FTX executive Ryan Salome will not testify under oath about his role in an alleged illegal campaign donation scheme at the cryptocurrency empire, according to prosecutors. He allegedly acted as a straw donor for FTX's co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried in a bid to shape crypto policy in Washington, donating more than $24 million to Republican campaigns. And just on Sam Bankman-Fried, Matt, worth noting, after getting his bail revoked, he's in prison in Brooklyn.
Absolutely. Thanks very much for watching. Tune in next week at 1 p.m. This
sucks to suck. Shout out to Bloomberg. Thanks for the video. Kind of neat. I don't know. Thought it was pretty relevant, and we should talk about things like that. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into this. We got to push through it. So Altcoin Daily, 10 crypto coins that must be in your portfolio, and then we'll get into the China's CBDC video. Let's do it.
Cryptocurrency is down, but a down market is when you buy. A massive bull run is coming in crypto. I think most will miss it, Hopefully you don't. Like this video if you too believe that a massive crypto bull run is on the horizon. Save this video to look back on over the next couple months. There are thousands and thousands of crypto projects that you could buy into. Today, I want to go over 10. This video, it's not financial advice, just opinion. You might have your own list. If you want me to include a different altcoin that you like in a future video, comment that coin below. If your comment gets enough likes, I will look into it. Bitcoin needs to be in your portfolio. Bitcoin represents everything that crypto was built for and everything that crypto has promised to do. More than that, institutions are waking up to this. Please buy Bitcoin before BlackRock launches their ETF.
I'm gonna be honest, it's not financial advice, but I think that's a good point. You should, before the ETF comes out, we should all have at least some Bitcoin. Even $50, $100, just throw something in, have some, put it aside, keep it for a rainy day, a later date. Does everybody here, I assume everybody here holds Bitcoin, correct? Is there anybody here that doesn't hold Bitcoin? Let me know in the chat.
Many people are saying that Bitcoin could hit $500,000, even $1 million by 2030.
If it's not going to zero, it's going to 1 million. It's either nothing, right? If it's nothing, then it's getting scrubbed out and banned. And of course, we now know that it's not getting banned, right? There's no way that Fidelity, Citadel, BlackRock, Charles Schwab, Deutsche Bank, Credit Agricole, Banco Santander all decide they're interested in this, right? They're not endorsing a tulip bulb.
Ethereum needs to be in your portfolio. Bitcoin and Ethereum are two of the biggest holdings in my portfolio by far. Ethereum has so much going for it, but there's less education and less awareness around it compared to Bitcoin.
You guys don't have to say how much you actually have. I'm just wondering if anybody here doesn't have any. Kirk, absolutely. I mean, again, not financial advice, but I would 100% get into at least a little bit. Just put some aside. You know what I mean? 50, $100, put something away, even $10 a month or something, just anything before things blow up. Because if this does go 6 figures, it's just going to soar. That's just my opinion.
Will change. After BlackRock launches their spot Bitcoin ETF, I believe an Ethereum spot ETF will be launched within a year. Canada has already done this. Ethereum is deflationary. I believe that Ethereum will eventually flip Bitcoin by market cap and will pump hard. You talk to people actually building in this space and they'll tell you.
Did he just say he thinks Ethereum's going to flip Bitcoin by market cap? That's kind of interesting, actually. I'm still holding a bunch of Ethereum. I don't know about you guys, but
I do think that the Ethereum blockchain is going to have a higher market cap than Bitcoin in the next bull run. I think it has the ability to change the entire financial industry. And if you like Bitcoin, I'm not hating on it. I think Bitcoin served its purpose, but I think Ethereum has just so much utility and so much liquidity on the blockchain that it's unstoppable. It would have to take a very drastic problem to eliminate Ethereum out of the equation of being the #1 blockchain in the world.
Make sure you...
How soon do you guys think the Ethereum ETF is soon after the Bitcoin one if it gets accepted?
Subscribe to our channel. Daily videos just like this, keeping you informed on the entire cryptocurrency market. If you're interested in making money in cryptocurrency, subscribe to our channel. Daily videos. I like Ethereum. I'm bullish on Ethereum, but I also want to find the next Ethereum. So, what are the options? Solana is a contender. Solana is more battle-tested today.
How do you guys feel about Solana? Is anybody into Solana? I was debating on getting some more Solana. I had some at one point, and then, yeah, it just kind of fell off a cliff, so I just never got back into it. But I don't know about you guys. You guys into that?
Ever before. Solana's ecosystem is more built out today than ever before. Famous billionaire investor Raoul Pal thinks that Solana can do what Ethereum did.
Yeah, that's crazy. Imagine a 45x on Solana. Real quick. So let me see. Where did I just read that I wanted to talk about? Got rid of all my ETH except one. It was hard to just keep one. I hate ETH for what they did to us. Yeah, I mean, it was... All right, so it wasn't personal. It was just... That was their roadmap from the beginning. They always wanted to go proof of stake. Man, there was another thing that I just saw. Oh, ETH will never flip Bitcoin, says Smokey. So... All right, Ethereum is a giant ecosystem where NFTs could push that market cap super high. because you need to have Ethereum to be able to mint these coins, to be able to purchase these coins. There's reasons it could explode over Bitcoin's market cap, but there's also it's really skeptical, at least in my opinion. But at the same time, they can keep making these coins, right? So it's not as scarce as Bitcoin. So there's two sides to it, right? But Ethereum is a giant ecosystem, and we can't really deny that.
Solana got battle tested like ETH did in 2018. It got battle tested last year, and it survived. Not only has it survived, it thrived. Volumes have been higher than ETH. We have seen an enormous amount of developer activity. There are opportunities coming where the alts perform well. If you remember what ETH did in 2018, having been battle tested, it did 47x from the low. Solana got down to 9, so could it do 25x from here? Look, it's possible. No guarantee. I'm not even sure. And my guess is we'll see narrative change around Solana, whether it's new activities or the rise of DeFi on Solana or whatever it may be. We don't know. Right? There's so much innovation in the space. We have no idea what's coming next. And that's what makes the space so exciting. So anyway, Solana feels like it might be the epicenter, or at least part of it. So I'm really focused on that.
Avalanche is also a contender. I don't think most people realize how Avalanche is building itself out, differentiating itself. Do you like Avalanche?
Let me know if you guys have ever owned Avalanche in the chat.
The Avalanche founder explains how Avalanche is different.
We have systems like Bitcoin, which are single asset, single chain systems. They do one job, they do it incredibly well. We have systems like Ethereum, which are multi-asset, but single chain systems. There's only one Ethereum. Systems like Avalanche are different. Not only is the consensus protocol much faster than everyone else's, because it uses something that nobody else is using, but it has a different architecture. Multi-asset, multi-chain.
Yeah.
Each and every one of the chains can be completely different from the other. They're isolated from each other. Congestion on your chain does not impact me. High fees for you does not impact me. That allows us to be able to accommodate jurisdictional differences. If you want to have an American chain subject to American rules, we can have that. Avalanche is a latest generation blockchain, and it has this architecture based on what we call subnets. Subnets are unique, custom purpose, custom designed blockchains for a specific purpose.
Cardano. Make sure you subscribe to our channel.
And you know what? Cardano's been another one of those coins that have been talked about a lot. I don't know about you guys, but are you guys into Cardano?
Coin Daily, because we talk about the value prop of Cardano all the time. And other coins, of course. As long as Charles Hoskinson is involved in Cardano, I'm a believer.
Cardano has never failed. That's a pretty remarkable thing when millions of people tried to break it, and it lived through pandemics, staff changes, markets up, markets down, and everything in between. We're resilient, and that's because of the integrity of the process. We won't lose that. We're just going to make the process better every day and eventually conquer the world. So thank you all for listening. It's a pleasure to be here. It's good to be back, and we got some work to do. We're going for number 1.
Hey, join us at Bitcoin Amsterdam, October 12th, Epic Bitcoin Conference. Get this ticket. Arbitrum and Optimism are the blue chips here. For Polygon, Starbucks, Reddit, Disney, Toyota, Nike, Instagram.
Yeah, what's the deal with Disney and Starbucks and all that shit? Like, what's the deal with this? What are they doing with Polygon?
All chose Polygon. Optimism. Their ecosystem is vast. Even WorldCoin is choosing Optimism to build on. Arbitrum has a vast ecosystem. If you're bullish on Ethereum, you ought to be bullish on Ethereum L2s. You tell me which ETH L2 is the best, though. Next coin I want to include is BNB coin. Mainly because I like CZ, I like Binance, and I like the way that they do business and run their exchange.
All right, so I know we're not supposed to use Binance, right, in the US, but like what do you guys feel? Do you guys like CZ and Binance, this whole thing? What do you guys think? I only hold Matic, says NerdBeast. Interesting. I think they're doing NFTs. Are they really? On Polygon? What, Disney and stuff? That's crazy.
I think if Binance Exchange continues to do well, BNB will do well. So BNB coin is a bet on Binance. Do you think betting on Binance is a good bet?
This is exactly what scares me. Do you think it's going to be like the FTX collapse with Binance? Binance is like, I don't know. I think CZ's a smart guy, but I don't know how much I trust that whole situation because he kind of turned FTX into or he made them implode, right? I mean, it was at the end of the day, it's FTX's fault for acting the way they acted, but he started the whole freaking thing on Twitter, remember?
How would I manage a situation like the FTX collapse? Well, first of all, the key is not to get into that situation first. It's not just when a crisis happens, what do you do? When you move tens of billions of user funds and lost it, that's kind of hard to manage. But even when that happens, I think the best thing to do is stop everything, be transparent, communicate, be open, but more importantly, the trick is not to even go anywhere near that. So there's a few principles in business that you never violate. Never touch user funds. Keep them secure, keep them separate, and run a healthy business, or run a sustainable business. Don't take shortcuts. I think prevention is much more important than handling it. But don't try to fool anyone again. If all Binance users want to withdraw their funds at the same time, will Binance go bankrupt? Short answer is no. It will be completely fine. We have more than 100% reserves on every single coin that we hold on behalf of our users. So feel free to withdraw at any time. If you have any concerns, we'll be good.
Final two.
That's a pretty bold statement, actually.
More of wildcard picks, Dogecoin because Elon Musk, and Shiba Inu because people always want to find the next Dogecoin, a more affordable Dogecoin. Subscribe to the channel.
What do you guys think about Dogecoin and Shiba? I have a bunch of Doge and a bunch of Shiba. Well, not really a bunch of Doge, but decent amount. All right, so real quick, in the chat, Mr. Kirk is actually new, I assume, getting into crypto. So what I would advise is not to go out and just buy mining equipment. I would just search the coins that you're like most interested in, Bitcoin definitely being one of the top ones, and invest a little bit here and there into them. Like right now is probably one of the best times, if not in the near future, when if it goes down any further than it is, because looking at this market is pretty brutal. Let me see. I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know, who knows, right? Nobody knows if it's going to go up or down at the end of the day, but 29,000 could see a $26,000 Bitcoin, who knows? But I mean, if you throw in a couple bucks, you know, 50 bucks, 100 bucks a month or something, you know, just do that. But definitely research whatever you can into before you just go ahead and like throw all your money in on like some freaking like Safe Moon or some bullshit coin that's just like whatever. You know what I mean? Too much red, dude. It's bad. It's bad right now. All right, let's listen to my man, Mr. Guy over at Coin Bureau. This is CBDCs in China and why they're so like crazy about getting development first. So let's hear about what he has to say here, and then we'll move on with our day. Let's do it.
Facial recognition, cameras that track your every movement, forced detentions, and a social score that can affect whether you can get loans or determine which schools your children go to. Nope, this is not an episode of Black Mirror.
To dock you one full ranking point as a punitive measure. This is a temporary measure. No!
But the terrifying reality today in parts of China. Now, you're unlikely to be watching this in China because the government there has banned YouTube. But wherever you are, you should be concerned about how China is a leader in the rollout of central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs. Because this technology has the very real potential of being used as yet another tool of mass surveillance and state control. And China has a habit of sharing its draconian innovations with brutal regimes across the world. In this video, we'll examine the development of China's CBDC up to the present day, outline the reasons China is so desperate to lead the development of CBDCs, and explain why this frightening prospect could have consequences for all of us. Let's get into it, shall we? China launched the digital yuan, known as the ECNY or digital renminbi, as a pilot project in 4 cities back in 2020. It has since expanded to over 20 cities, including Beijing and Shanghai.
Somebody said they want his shirt. Hold on. I gotta jump back. Look at it. So, yeah, monkey in a shell. It's still a monkey in gold, and then it's like a coin, then a credit card, and then a Bitcoin. It's kind of fun. It is a cool shirt. I think he has his own merch thing. I do have this link to this video down in the description below. So if you want, I think he does have his own merch that he sells.
Including Beijing and Shanghai. And last October reached a notable milestone of 100 billion yuan, that is $13.9 billion US dollars, worth of transactions. The ECNY is worth the same as the physical currency in circulation. For those unfamiliar, the renminbi is the official name for China's currency, and yuan is the main unit of currency. It can be a bit confusing, but they are essentially the same thing. So, now that the terminology is clear, let's look at the ECNY and examine how it works in practice. Now, as you might have guessed, installing the ECNY is pretty straightforward. It can be downloaded as a standalone app or used through China's existing digital payment services, including Alipay and WeChat Pay.
I'm going to bump
I
this
should
up.
note that these two platforms
If it gets to be too fast, let me know, guys.
Dominate the sector with over 1 billion users each. As with most banks these days, ECNY users can pay for goods using their phones or a card. And there's also a version for...
Oh my God, hold on. Did you guys see that? I showed it the other day. Mr. DJ Mine shared it with me. Some lady paid with like her palm print at like a freaking Walmart, like over the credit card thing. Did you guys see that? Insane. Like, how does that even happen? The things they're coming up with is just absolutely crazy.
Private users as well as businesses, and its usage has expanded to at least one Western bank. The ECNY is simple, straightforward, and utterly terrifying, but we'll get to that a little later. First, it's important to look at CBDCs from the perspective of the Chinese government. Why is the People's Bank of China, PBOC, i.e. China's central bank, so desperate to roll out a CBDC? Well, as regular viewers will know, CBDCs are highly appealing to central banks across the globe for reasons that vary from the practical to the ominous, and China is no different. For governments and central banks, the benefits of CBDCs include instantaneous round-the-clock payments at much lower cost and greater access to financial services for both retail and wholesale participants. CBDCs could allow the central bank to efficiently and cheaply send citizens money for emergency relief, like the US did during COVID. However, China has reasons for rolling out a CBDC that go well beyond speed and efficiency. The first of these is data collection. Now, China is a surveillance state. As the New York Times put it, quote, China aims to gather as much data as possible on its citizens, centralize this data, and use it to maintain authoritarian control. Sounds scary, doesn't it? Well, some would argue that the West is not far off. For Yahya Fanusi, an expert at a leading US think tank, China's CBDC plans are more about data than money. To make his case, Yahya points to China's FinTech Development Plan from 2019, which he notes mentions currency twice and data 60 times. Data is, in other words, a big part of the Chinese government's calculations. Now, a key feature of CBDCs for many governments, not just China's, is programmability. This means that the central bank has the ability to set rules for the digital money it issues. Think expiry dates if it wants customers to use those funds quickly, restrictions if it wants to influence how the money is spent, and, well, anything in between. This also means the government can freeze the assets of bad actors, which Mu Changchun, head of the PBOC's Digital Currency Research Institute, says is a very good thing. At a conference in 2019, Mu said, quote, we will keep the balance between the controllable anonymity and anti-money laundering, CTF, that is counter-terrorist financing, and also tax issues, online gambling, and any electronic criminal activities. Now, this might sound great in principle, perhaps. Who wouldn't want to crack down on bad actors and misbehavior? But when you think about it, it is deeply problematic. Who, after all, defines the so-called bad actor? And when it comes to a totalitarian state like China, the definition can easily include the ruling Communist Party's political opponents. Viewed in this way, China's CBDC starts to look deeply worrying. Now, while that first reason relates to internal control, the second and third reasons are about external competition. China has a long-term goal of boosting the renminbi's low use outside of the Chinese domestic market. This is unsurprising for an aspiring global superpower. In fact, it might surprise you to learn that the renminbi makes up just 3% of international payments, compared with the US dollar's 40%. This is despite the fact that China's share of global GDP stands at around 18%, compared with the US's 24%. And while technological innovations alone won't challenge the dollar's primacy at the helm of global finance, the hope in Beijing is that CBDCs might move the needle to some extent, and this could have big consequences. In fact, if Beijing can successfully deploy CBDC-based payment systems at scale, it could reduce the power of two key tools for imposing blacklists, namely the worldwide SWIFT payment network and the use of banks as intermediaries. This would help China and its allies avoid sanctions. Now, since sanctions are a key tool of US foreign policy and tension is building between Beijing and Washington, it's no surprise that US lawmakers have sounded the alarm. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear more concerns about the ECNY aired on Capitol Hill in the future. Now, the third component feeds squarely into China's desire to be a leader in what it calls frontier technologies. These include quantum computing and semiconductors, but
I think that's the biggest point right there. They want to be the leaders in pretty much everything that's super important to hold, like, to hold it just above our heads, basically.
Also blockchain. China's President Xi Jinping delivered a speech on the topic in 2019, which essentially made blockchain a national priority area. One of the most interesting and potentially far-reaching aspects of innovation in this area is the so-called Blockchain-Based Service Network, or BSN. This is a government-backed effort to build a platform with the ambitious goal of facilitating the deployment of blockchain technology in the cloud for companies. Its key value proposition is the fact that it would be interoperable. In other words, companies would be able to seamlessly work across multiple blockchains. Now, the BSN is still in its infancy and is relatively untested, but what you should keep in mind is that China is banking on blockchain's rapid adoption. It is positioning itself as a leader in infrastructure development, and CBDCs are just one component of this overarching plan.
Very true.
Let's, though, take a step back and clarify. There is nothing inherently wrong with China's ambitions to be a tech leader. We live in a competitive world. It's natural for ambitious countries to compete for technological advances. Some of China's economic policies are laudable. Successive governments have managed to pull hundreds of millions of people out of poverty over the last few decades. And this is a great thing. What's worrying, however, is when these ambitions give a government, that is any government, mass surveillance capabilities and the power to shape behavior, as CBDCs have the potential to do. Scarier still is the fact that China is not a liberal democracy with checks and balances, but a totalitarian state that systematically quashes opposition and violates human rights. International organizations and human rights watchdogs estimate that 1 million Muslim Uyghurs have been in arbitrary detention in camps in China's Xinjiang province since 2017, which is the largest detention of a religious group since World War II. China has been accused of carrying out the worst practices in international law, crimes against humanity and genocide. And China's appalling practices in Xinjiang have been enabled by the pervasive state surveillance system, where facial recognition enables the country's security apparatus to keep tabs on its citizens and control behavior. Widespread surveillance goes far beyond Xinjiang, however. Last year, 1 billion people's records were leaked, confirming not only the government's overreach, but also raising questions about Beijing's ability to keep this data secure, since large portions of the leaked data are believed to have been sold to cybercriminals. The think tank expert Yaya and his colleague Emily Jin see the ECNY as part of China's surveillance apparatus. They're quoted by the Financial Times as saying, quote, "The digital renminbi is likely to be a boon for CCP surveillance in the economy and for government interference in the lives of Chinese citizens. It would allow the central bank to create a massive data center with real-time visibility into its citizens' economic activity. If the ECNY is successful," Emily says, quote, "it would be a crucial tool for domestic control. I'm sorry to say, an Orwellian future is fast approaching." Now, the good news, if I can call it that, is that the ECNY is not a sure thing. Data from 2022 shows that around 261 million people have set up the ECNY digital wallet. At first glance, this is impressive, but the average balance for individual wallets was found to be just 3 yuan, or 47 cents. That is less than impressive. It suggests that, like my daily abs app, it hangs around on users' phones but is barely opened. I must emphasize that this data is from a year ago, but it doesn't sound like the ECNY has come on leaps and bounds since then. During the 2022 Beijing Winter Olympics, a key testing ground for the ECNY, Chinese citizens used around 2 million yuan, that is $315,761 a day, according to authorities. That's not too shabby, for sure. But part of the test was to see whether foreigners would take to it as well. And in that regard, it was a failure, as foreigners favoured visa payments. And if the Chinese authorities were surprised at foreign visitors not voluntarily using their scary CBDC, well, they shouldn't have been. But you might be wondering why the ECNY hasn't seen greater adoption. Well, to some extent, privacy is a factor. But practicality seems to be the bigger issue. The ECNY system is still technologically inferior to Alipay and WeChat Pay in terms of capacity and scalability. It can't handle that many transactions per second. And while it is meant to be able to be used offline, this is unlikely to be the main selling point for most users. I guess the bigger issue is one that most businesses face, that unless you're orders of magnitude better, it's hard for a newcomer to grab a significant market share from established competitors. But where the ECNY has a distinctive edge over mainstream businesses is the fact that the government could, if it wanted to, force people to use it. And as I hope this video has shown you, that is a development that should be a concern for us all.
All right, that may have been a little too quick for you guys to process a lot of it, but the video's in the description if you guys are interested in watching it again. It's just a good thing to kind of wrap your head around everything and to see or to think about what, you know, other countries are doing. And we're gonna be just left behind, to be honest, if they don't get into if we don't start making crypto adoption a priority in this this world, or in the US just in general. Let me see. Aru asked a question and I can't find it. I read it and then I forgot where the hell it is. Let me just scroll up and try to see if I can find it quick. My wife did leave, so I have to get back to daddy duty real soon. Let's see. Oh, you have a short crypto? That's what you asked. So no, to be honest, I don't. Well, I have in the past, but I don't typically short crypto. What I'll do is if it goes down, I'll just buy in when it's down lower. So like right now, I think it was like 13 or 1400 bucks into Bitcoin the other day just to hold it, because I was gonna swap it for Neoxa and start a Neoxa node, but it's not yeah, I don't know, nodes aren't for me. I'm not a huge fan of nodes just in general, but I don't know, it was too big of a risk, to be honest, thinking about it. So and then Kirk, we have he said that thanks, I look at this as being in construction 45 years worth, and you're going to have highs and lows. You just got to be ready for anything. I think smart money to get in. Yeah, so being a master plumber, right, being in construction my whole life, getting into this, just seeing how everything's changing in such a way that it makes sense to me to go this route. I literally just kind of said, you know what, I'm done stressing myself out and done busting my ass every single day, and I'm going to put most of my effort towards this, and I hope it pays off. And if it doesn't pay off, then it is what it is. I mean, it's not like I'm trading every day, but I'm just trying to educate myself, trying to raise the kids, and that's it. And the wife loved their job, so it was like, listen, it was either you or me. I ain't paying $3,000 a month to have somebody else watch my kids. It's definitely not happening. But that's kind of yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I'm going this route, just to see how it goes. Let's see, I'll be 60 in October, and I'm just about done with all of it. LOL, I moved a few years ago and I really don't like going balls to the walls again. Yeah, dude, it's so hard. I know what you're saying. Construction is, it's one of those things. If you're not in it, you don't understand how taxing it is on your body and just everything in general. It's such it just beats the shit out of you every day. You know what I mean? And yeah, daycare is disgusting. Kyle Rosa, daycare costs with a dead emoji. Yeah, daycare is ridiculous. And these days, it's really so much not even about the money. It's about the people that are watching your kids, because you can't trust anybody. Like there was a story, it was probably a couple years ago, but like maybe it wasn't a couple years ago, maybe it was like last year, but there was like this chick like recording, like putting on TikTok or some bullshit, these kids like fighting in a daycare, and they're supposed to be watching your kids. Like, come on, like it's not, you know what I mean? There's a line between like funny and like not okay, you know what I mean? Like it just wasn't okay. So like things like that, just kind of, I'm not putting my kids in daycare, you know what I mean? Just not doing it. And I tell you what, if this shit keeps going crazy with like the status of everybody like shitting in litter boxes and stuff, I'll be homeschooling my kids if that's gonna be what it comes down to. I'm not going to be sending them to no school with a litter box in the freaking bathroom, I can tell you that. Let's see. I don't do daycare either. Dude, crypto jar, it's so awful, right? Can't do it. I just can't trust people, man. Can't trust people with my kids. Daycare fight club. We don't talk about it. That's rule number 1. God damn it, Game with Smokey Dan. You're awesome. I appreciate you, buddy. All right, you guys are all great. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Next week, just a huge heads up. I don't know if I'm going to be live in the mornings at all, to be honest, next week. So it might be an absent week for me, but it depends if I have good connection. I'm going to have to test it on Sunday when I get there. So we'll have to see, but we're going to be doing some things remotely next week. So yeah, just a quick heads up. But anyways, guys, hopefully you all have a good day. Mr. Shea, I'm going to be swapping over your CASP address to the KSO. Congrats on winning the hash rate there. And yeah, have a good day, guys. I'll catch you guys in the morning. Peace. Happy Wednesday. Only 2 more days.